All right, this is not related to the convention, but I think it's important to give you guys an update. The 6 police officials that were facing criminal charges in the death of Freddie Gray have officially had all of the charges dropped against them. Now, they did stand trial, at least some of them did stand trial, and that resulted in a hung jury, and in cases, the charges were not substantiated. So a total of 6 officers had been charged in connection to the death. 4 trials had ended without convictions. 1, a jury trial, ended with a hung jury, and 3 bench trials returned verdicts of not guilty. Now, if you don't remember the Freddie Gray case, it involved a young black man in his mid-20s who was in Baltimore. And apparently, police showed up to the community that he lived in, and they claimed that he immediately ran away from them, which caused them to chase him. When they later caught him, they said that he had an illegal switchblade. Now, interestingly enough, the police alleged that it was an illegal switchblade. There were city officials who came forward and said, no, it was not illegal. But nonetheless, it resulted to what witnesses said was a beating of Freddie Gray. He was later placed in the back of a police truck, and he later died from a neck injury. Now, cops said that they were able to restrain him without having to use any force. But later on, a video was released that showed the following. Take a look.
Shorty, that was after they tased out him like that. Man, I've been recording. I've been recording it. I've been recorded it. What car they come out of, yo?
He on a bike, yo, right there. Him right there. He on a bike.
I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, yo.
Get his badge, now, Miss Chump badge.
After they did tase yo like that, you wonder why he can't use his legs. Yeah, I sure will.
So the cops had claimed that they did not use any force on him, but witnesses said that they had done so. And the cops also alleged that he was able to climb into the truck on his own. And you watch that video and you see that that's not the case.
He didn't look alive at that point.
Yeah. So one of the charges was that the cops did not get him medical attention in time. The cops said, no, that is not true. We got him medical attention within 30 minutes. However, records indicate that they had made 4 stops, one of which was at a grocery store while Freddie Gray was injured in the back of the car, the police van, I should say. So
they didn't strap him in properly, which is the thing, right?
Yeah,
this is done on purpose.
So 6 days prior to this incident, Baltimore police were told that they must secure the person that they've detained with a seatbelt. However, they did not do so in this case. There were allegations that cops went on a rough ride on purpose, and and he's restrained with handcuffs, so he wouldn't be able to control himself if he's not secured by a seatbelt. The judge said that there wasn't enough evidence to prove that, so I want to be clear about that. Now, let me tell you what the state attorney said about this. Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby, speaking Wednesday morning, passionately denounced the death of Gray as homicide. She said her office stands by the legitimacy of the charges, but that prosecuting police is blatantly fraught with systemic and inherent complications, including uncooperative and biased officers. She also says without real substantive reforms to the criminal justice system, we could try this case 100 times and cases just like it and still end up with the same result.
How is that not bigger news that that's the result that they come to? It's like, well, we could try, but there's no way under this system that even as obvious as what happened seems to be, that you could actually convict one of them. That should be front page news on every story or every newspaper. And another thing, we have a lot of rights, our Miranda rights when you're arrested, and you have various rights when you're being moved and stuff like that. Why is actual care when you're shot not apparently one of those rights?
It's supposed to be.
If a police officer gets shot, rightly, they bring help as quickly as possible. But how many videos have we covered over the past few years of people just laying shot 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Where they either die as a result of their injuries or their injury is far worse than it needs to be because they don't put any priority whatsoever on actually getting care to those people.
So we don't respect life in America like we say we do, and especially the right wing, right? Their whole thing is they respect life. We have to respect all life from conception.
Yeah.
And we don't, right? We don't respect life because we've been killing people all over around the world for a long time illegally, and nobody really seems to care that much about it, right? Everybody went crazy about what happened in Nice, rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so, went crazy about it. And then we do something very similar where we kill just almost as many innocent people, but they're not French and they're not in the Western culture, so it's okay. So we don't really respect all life equally. And, you know, someone said to me, what we ever do to people overseas, we're going to do it to ourselves. And we're doing it to ourselves here at home. We're letting an over-militarized police force not respect our own citizenry and not respect our citizens' life. Blue lives are really important, and the citizens' lives can wait. And that's what we see over and over and over in these videos. And if it was we respected life, we would make every attempt. You know, in war, you're supposed to take care of the enemy's wounded, right? We don't take care of our own citizens in our own country. They let them bleed out. And it's only heard one person in power talk about this, and it was the governor of Minnesota when it happened. He said that the way that they were treated after they were shot was irresponsible and reprehensible. And I agree. And that's the thing that is getting lost.
So if you don't know the context of it, you might be like, look, man, they didn't put a seatbelt on a guy. Big deal. No, this is something that Baltimore cops, unfortunately, did on a fairly regular basis, something that civil rights attorneys had complained about many times. They handcuff the guy, and then they don't strap him in, and then they drive really fast and take big turns so that he smashes against the walls of the van. And a lot of guys have gotten hurt that way before. Now, in his case, he looked like he was already hurt, obviously, as they put him in, thereby not allowing him to protect himself even further.
Yeah.
So then, boom, smash, easily can get your head smashed against the side, which apparently happened, which broke his neck. And then he was like, I'm really, really hurt, but if you say that, oh, yeah, it's another guy that's crying. Yeah, he might be crying because you broke his neck.
Yeah.
And so you might want to get him some attention. So that's what we're talking about when we say disregard of life. So I know they were trying him on second-degree murder, all these cops, manslaughter, assault, misconduct, and false imprisonment. I get it that second-degree murder would have been hard to prove. Mm-hmm. So, like, if Jimmy's on the jury, you probably would have won, right? If it was 12 guys like Jimmy. But I can understand that there are other juries you wouldn't have gotten second-degree murder. But there was no misconduct. There was no assault. That's a little amazing. And that's why Marilyn Mosby is saying, look, I'm the prosecutor. I'm trying as hard as I can. But under this system, I don't think I can get a conviction. That's why she's not even continuing with the rest of the cases. Now, of course, the right wing will look at that and go, see, they didn't do anything wrong. And this was a vindictive prosecutor going after the poor cops as if it was their necks that were broken, right? Whereas the rest of us look at it and go, look, nobody's trying to be vindictive. We're just saying, don't break the guy's neck. You know that if you strap him in, he doesn't break his neck. And you know that you're supposed to strap him in. You know that's police procedure. And you did not follow police procedure. And you know in Baltimore that there have been many complaints about how many people got hurt. And you know that that's why you do it. So don't pretend like you don't know what's happening here. And if you think every once in a while a guy who might or might not have broken the law with a switchblade that was either 4 or 5 inches that he wasn't using should have his neck snapped, well, then you're a bad person. And then you think, oh, no, yeah, every once in a while you snap their necks. I can't believe a prosecutor would prosecute that. Now, of course, if they snap somebody's neck, my guess is you'd want them prosecuted.
Yeah.